Volume. Yay. And one of the hosts of this really special convening. I'm honestly just honored to be able to host all of you and share this virtual space. Thank you for showing up. Even though we are in a virtual space, it is important for me to recognize the land and space that we occupy. I first want to acknowledge the Awanichi, Miwok, and Yukon Indian tribes who were the original peoples and caretakers of this land that I and my university are on. If you know your own land recognition and you want to put that up in the chat and introduce yourself to one another, we welcome you to do that. Land acknowledgements are a simple, powerful way to show respect for the original inhabitants of the land that you are currently standing, presenting, and about to engage in activity in. Some groups, like the Massachusetts Center for Native American Awareness, believes that these acknowledgements are, to quote, a meaningful step honoring the truth, making the invisible visible, and correcting the American stories that erase Indigenous peoples' tribal history and culture. Land acknowledgements demonstrate a commitment to counter the doctrine of discovery and undo the ongoing legacy of settler colonialism. These acknowledgements call attention to continued assertions of sovereignty and self-determination. The land acknowledgements can be passive or symbolic if we let them, but I urge us not to be. To quote from a UCLA comrade, S.A. Smythe, the spiritual project of abolition requires us to bring our attention to solidarity practices across various regions of the globe in ways that past, present, emerging are always deeply interrelated. This is part of what we are acknowledging when we acknowledge the land and spaces that we're in and the ones we forged together today. So this symposium is being hosted by UC campus in what a coalition of students, faculty, and community members here across Turtle Island in North America are calling #AbolitionMay. And one of the demands for Abolition May is to think about land back, to also just think about the ways we are connected to local and global calls for disinvestment of state repression more broadly, and other harms, also connected to things related to cops off campus, but really for a call for a reinvestment in humanity and community and communal care. So even though each of us occupy a particular space, we are connected. And to that end, I also want to acknowledge those who are fighting for their lives in a variety of different ways in Turtle Island, North America, those who have been harmed by the police like Adam Toledo, Makia Bryant, and those who are working against continued violence, those in the streets of Chicago or Minneapolis or Ferguson, Oakland, but also those in a global scale who are fighting for their lives right now in Colombia and Palestine. If Black feminist thought has taught me anything, it has taught me that our freedom is rooted in freeing us all. And I want to make sure that we take time to acknowledge that. Beyond acknowledging our continued resistance, I do also want to take a moment to focus here a bit on the symposium and the people who made this happen and made it a success. As I'm looking, we have over 100 of you here today. So a first sincere thank you to my co-editor, Dr. Zakia Luna, for being my partner in this BFS journey, for always pushing me to be more organized so this could happen. I thank Tashelle Wright, an advanced PhD candidate and one of our editorial assistants, for riding with me as we made this event a reality. She made all of the wonderful flyers and promos and is co-host of this event. I thank our other editorial assistant, Jasmine Kelke, for jumping in to helping with the Day of Tech and also jumping in last minute to become another moderator since so many of you have joined on. So thank you so much. I also want to thank the Center for Humanities at the University of California, Merced, who helped fund the Black Feminist Sociology Working Group and the symposium, Dr. Christina Lux and Austin Smith for their administrative support. Tashelle also wrote her own grant to the UC Merced Grad Division to support her work and was funded. So another thanks to them and Tashelle for helping support this effort, and our editors at Rutledge and Marcus Hunter and Jody O'Brien, our series editors as well. A sincere thanks to each and every one of our Black Feminist Sociology authors for contributing. A number of you, we can see each other now, but I know some of us are in the audience as well. Thank you so much for being a part of this volume, this effort, and the symposium. And finally, we dedicated our book to all of the Black feminists of the past, present, and future. And I want to add on to that dedication today. Okay, so I'm going to hand this over to Tishelle, who's going to give a run through of today's events before we hand it over to Dr. Luna, who will talk a little bit more about BFS, and then we'll really get into it with the panelists.
Welcome, everyone. It's so exciting to see you all here, and we appreciate all of your support. So today we will be going through, and I'll be quickly going through the agenda and sharing what is to come. So part one of today is the panel. We have several, 8 to be in fact, esteemed guests who will be speaking about their specific chapters. We have Dr. Rose Brewer, Dr. LeConte Dill, and Dr. Cynthia Neal-Spence, Dr. Carolette Norwood, Dr. Kenley Brown, Dr. Frieden Bloom-Orr, and Dr. Saida Grundi. And if I say names wrong, I apologize in advance. And so that will be our first panel. After that, we will be doing a Q&A and the second of raffles, which the first I will be doing shortly. And then we'll have a music interlude as Dr. Priddle shared. We have a beautiful playlist curated just for this conference, which will be shared. And then we'll do a bio break as well. And then part 2, which will start at 11:45 Pacific Standard Time, is the breakout rooms, which will also be moderated by some of our phenomenal BFS authors, which include Dr. Brittany Friedman, Dr. Melissa C. Brown, Dr. Lori L. Martin, Dr. Jennifer James, and Dr. Maria Johnson. Each of these rooms will include an author who will help facilitate a set of questions raised from the book itself. And then at 12:25, we will report back and talk about next steps and do the third raffle, which is exciting. So we hope you guys will be able to stick with us. And we'll go over a summary of the day's events and think about more of what the future of BFS will look like. And then lastly, do our farewells and have time for you all to share links and network as well. With that being said, I have the honor of doing the fun part, love raffles. Is it good to go ahead and do the first one, Dr. Pirtle? Before passing the time to Dr. Luna?
We will quickly go to Dr. Luna first. Yes.
Okay. Sounds great.
I am so excited to be here, even though it is virtual, as more and more people keep on streaming into the space. I'm Zakia Luna, a co-editor with Whitney of Black Feminist Sociology. And right now I am on Southern Paiute land, and I couldn't have imagined a couple of years ago when I was at the Association for Black Sociologists conference at a lovely dinner that, if you want to hear more about, is actually on our website, where we got to some discussion about, wouldn't it be amazing to have a volume on Black feminist sociology, kind of like what they had in anthropology with Black feminist anthropology and various other texts. And believe it or not, that was my first time really meeting Whitney, and we embarked on a collaboration together, which has been amazing. And certainly there's been twists and turns in ways no one could have imagined, but it's been one of the highlights and joys of my career to be able to work with Whitney and to be able to see the amazing work that people were doing all over the world, not just the country, but the world. And you get to see some of the authors today. And when the book comes out in late September, early October, we'll have another event that'll launch it, and you'll get to meet even more authors. And really just so excited to be in this space, and hope that you, of course, learn lots of things, but I hope what you take from this is some new community. That's really what we are trying to create here. And with that, take it to one of our amazing editorial assistants, Tashelle.
Hello again. So yes, I'm Tishelle Wright. I didn't even introduce myself, but I feel like Dr. Pirtle did it beautifully. I also want to acknowledge that I'm currently in Utah. That's where my family's from. I'm one of like 1.8% Black people here. So it's great to be in this space. But I also want to acknowledge that this land, which is named after the Ute tribe, is the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshu, and Ute tribes. So I wanted to say that. And then I also, as someone who, my research is really focused on Black health. So I'd also like to acknowledge those who've suffered or lost their lives due to healthcare injustice.